Okay, in next video, I'd like to talk about the reasons why a company should use a service provider like ourselves and the challenges they would often face whilst trying to pursue a claim by HMRC for research and development tax relief. I think the first key point is identifying, qualifying R&D projects within the business. This is a huge area of uncertainty from a business perspective, whereby we often see this when talking to organizations. They genuinely feel that the work that they do isn't groundbreaking, wouldn't qualify for R&D tax relief. And ultimately, once we have a conversation with them, explain the actual parameters set out by HMRC, as well as through our experience in terms of the hundreds of and thousands of claims we've submitted in the past, then we can actually find qualifying projects there within the business. So it's hugely important that we don't rule anything out. We have a conversation, we speak to an expert, and we make sure that we exhaust all avenues before we actually rule project out. Now, the second key point for me as to a reason why you potentially use a service provider is the complex documentation requirements set out from HMRC these days. They expect a level of due diligence from the client to make sure that they're documenting their successes, their failures, the project progress, etc. And in the unlikely event of an inquiry or a compliance check, as HMRC calls it, they will often call for some of these documents to be provided. So it's very important that moving forward, businesses do keep these records. The third area for me where I would always look to advise people against trying to manage the process themselves is purely navigating HMRC's guidelines. Now, HMRC's guidelines, especially in the last 12 months, have changed and will continue to change, I'm sure, as we move forward. Now, from someone within the industry, trying to keep abreast of those changes is difficult enough, but from a client's perspective who aren't aware of some of these changes, or often their accountants aren't giving them the advice as to what those changes look like, it's really important that you deal with a provider who is keeping their finger on the pulse in the industry, who's implementing those changes ahead of time and ensuring that the clients are obviously protected by following the process to the letter. The fourth area for me would be time-consuming process. A significant amount of time is sunk often in gathering the required information, organising and submitting the necessary documentation and the information for the claim. That's only got significantly greater in the past 12 months with some of the additional changes HMRC has brought in. Again, working with a third-party provider or an agent actually helps navigate that path, who can obviously do that for you and save you a significant amount of time. The fifth area for me would be determining eligible expenditure. This is a real key area of any claim. Now, there's various headers of costs that businesses can claim for under their expenditure on an R&D claim. Often when I've seen reports or I've spoke to clients that have actually gone about submitting their own claims, or even submitted from some other partner provider, I've often seen glaring mistakes and things missing, such as pension contribution, national insurance contribution, some of them waste material costs, etc., externally provided workers, other things like that, which have significantly cost that business money on that claim. They're legitimate expenditure, and therefore they should be included in the claim. Again, working with a provider such as ourselves ensures that we claim for every pound that we've spent on the projects that are qualifiable, and we make sure that we don't leave anything out in particular. I think the final thing for me would be the risk of an inaccurate claim. That's really important. So the risk of submitting an inaccurate claim, that could result in a reduced relief, that could result in penalties from HMRC, could result in more sunk time from the client's perspective, which obviously that's not going to be a great experience on behalf of the company. Now, Businesses that often are innovators are ones which will continue to invest that money back into the business that they've received in the form of R&D tax reliefs. They will do more projects. They will push the boundaries further. And the fact that they could have a negative experience could stifle that growth in any organization. And that is something that neither that business needs or the country's GDP needs. We need to be at the forefront of innovation in the UK and ensuring that we've got a tax relief that is available to those businesses and is accessible to those businesses that can benefit from it most is massively important. And again, working with a reputable provider like ourselves, we can navigate that path and ensure that we maximize the relief on behalf of the client. And in terms of the time that they've spent, we can make sure that's good value for money.